After years of emotional abuse from my mother, she finally told me to leave her house. "You'll never amount to anything," she said, slamming the door in my face. As I stood outside, I knew that the time had come to take action. "You'll pay for this," I said, gripping my bag tightly. What she didn't realize was that I had been preparing a revenge that would destroy her whole world. I didn't grow up in a home. I grew up in a battlefield. My mother never hit me. She didn't have to. Her words were worse. She used silence as a weapon and sarcasm like a blade. I remember being 8 years old and drawing a picture of us together, smiling, holding hands, and she looked at it and said, "That's not what we look like. Maybe if you stopped eating so much, you'd actually be cute." I laughed it off back then, the way kids do when they're trying to stay close to someone who hates them. That's the kind of relationship we had. One minute she was hugging me, the next she was screaming at me for existing. There was no logic to her moods. It was always my fault. She had 3 marriages. All of them ended ugly. I watched them fall apart like bad plays. She'd charm them at first, sweet, funny, beautiful in that cold, commanding way. Then it would turn. Always. Screaming matches. Gaslighting. Calling the cops on them over lies. And when they left, she blamed me. Said they left because I was too much. That I scared them off. I was 12. By the time I was in my 20s, I was working full-time trying to get out, but every time I got close, she'd pull me back in. Guilt trips. "I need you," she'd say. "If you leave, who'll help me pay the mortgage?" And like a fool, I stayed. Because part of me still believed I could fix it. That maybe one day she'd see me as something more than just a burden. But it never came. When my grandmother died, her mother, she left behind a small inheritance. Nothing huge, but enough that it should have given me a way out.
My mom didn't even tell me when she passed.
I found out from a cousin 2 weeks later. And by then, the money was already gone. I confronted her. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "She left it to me, not you. You wouldn't know what to do with it anyway." That broke something in me. I knew it wasn't true. I knew my grandmother loved me. She told me 1,000 times she was setting something aside for me. But the will had been lost. According to my mom, the lawyer she used was some old family friend. Nothing I could do.
So I started documenting.
At first, I just wrote down things. Names, dates, lies she told. Then I started recording. I backed up her voicemails, her emails, her threats. I pulled copies of bank records I had access to, especially the ones showing where the money really went. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew I'd need it. And then came that day. I'd just come home from my shift at the warehouse. She was already drunk. The smell hit me the second I opened the door. She started in right away, ranting about how I never did anything right, how the house was a mess, how I was ruining her life. I didn't say a word, just started heading to my room. That's when she screamed, "Get out. Get the hell out of my house. Right now." I turned around and looked at her. "You're drunk." She stormed up to me, face red, eyes wide. "You're useless. You're nothing. You'll never amount to anything. Just like your father." And that was it. She grabbed my arm, shoved a bag into my chest, and pushed me toward the door. I stumbled onto the porch, bag in hand. She slammed the door behind me so hard I heard a picture frame fall. I stood there for a minute, the wind biting my face, my breath fogging in the air, and all I could think was, finally, not the freedom, not the silence. I meant the revenge. I crashed at a cheap motel on Pulaski Highway that night. $60 a night, smelled like smoke even in the non-smoking rooms, and the heat barely worked. But I didn't care. I sat there with my laptop, opened the folder I'd been building for over a year, and started organizing. I had everything. Screenshots of bank transfers she made under other people's names. A voice recording from 3 months ago where she bragged to her friend Janice on the phone about how she was getting paid under the table while the IRS stays blind. I had pictures of the false disability claims. She'd faked a back injury for years, and I had texts of her laughing about playing the system. But the most important thing I had was time. And patience. I knew I couldn't go straight to the authorities yet. I needed to be smart. I had to hit her where it hurt. First, I filed a quiet report to the IRS tip line. I included every detail: her aliases, the shell business she used to launder cash, and copies of every document. I didn't include my name. I wanted her to wonder where it came from. Second, I made a copy of the file and sent it to her third ex-husband, Joel. He was a good man, honestly. She destroyed him with lies, claimed he beat her, got a restraining order, ruined his job at the college. He reached out to me once after the divorce, trying to explain. I ignored him then, but now I emailed him everything. I asked if he still had the original will from my grandmother. He did. He sent me a scanned copy. She forged the updated one. Her family friend lawyer? No longer licensed. Disbarred 2 years ago. It kept getting worse. One night, 2 weeks after I got kicked out, I got a text from my cousin Lisa. "Why is your mom freaking out on Facebook?" She's saying someone's stalking her. That made me smile. The IRS must have made contact. I didn't respond to Lisa. She was just another one of my mother's flying monkeys, people she kept close by playing victim, telling sob stories, pretending she was just a tough woman doing her best. She had no idea what was really coming. Then she called me. Blocked number. I let it go to voicemail.
Hi.
It's me. I think maybe we should talk. There's been a misunderstanding.
I didn't mean to say what I said.
You can come home if you want. Her voice cracked, but I knew it wasn't sadness. It was fear. She must have figured out someone turned her in.
She just didn't know it was me.
I didn't reply. Instead, I sent an anonymous email to her real estate agent. She was in the middle of trying to sell the house, something I overheard weeks before she kicked me out. I attached proof of the tax investigation and the disability fraud. Told them it might affect the sale. The listing was pulled 2 days later. She started calling constantly after that. Sometimes crying, sometimes screaming, leaving voicemails about how everything was falling apart and how she knew someone was doing this to her. She accused my aunt, her ex, even her own brother. Not once did she say sorry. Not once did she admit what she did. And I wasn't done yet. A month after the IRS letter hit her mailbox, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. When I listened, my stomach turned. "Hello, this is Special Agent Whitaker with the Office of the Inspector General. We're following up regarding a federal disability fraud investigation involving Lorraine Bates. Please return this call at your earliest convenience." I froze. I hadn't expected that part of the report to move so quickly. I thought the IRS would take months to even glance at it. I had used a burner email and no identifying details, but still, panic kicked in. I waited a day, then called back using a prepaid phone. Told him I was a concerned party with documentation and that I was willing to provide what I had if I could do it anonymously. He was surprisingly respectful. Asked good questions. Took notes. "I won't ask you to testify," he said, "but what you've given us lines up with an existing case. You've done the right thing." That was the first time in my life someone said that to me and meant it. But then came the twist I didn't see coming. I found out my mother had named me as co-signer on a second mortgage she secretly took out 2 years ago, using forged documents. She had access to copies of my ID, social, even my signature. Back when I was living there, she helped me refinance my old car loan by signing papers for me. I didn't realize she had scanned and kept copies of everything. Now, the loan company was trying to contact me about missed payments. I drove straight to a legal aid office in downtown Baltimore, papers in hand. The guy who helped me, older black lawyer named Marvin, looked through the documents and shook his head. She did a damn good job faking this. "So, what can I do?" I asked. "You file a fraud claim. You press charges. But she's still your mother, right?" I didn't answer him, because by that point I didn't care. Marvin helped me open a case with the police fraud division. He told me what to say, how to freeze my credit, how to protect myself. Meanwhile, the walls were closing in on her. The disability check stopped. Her account was frozen. And according to Lisa, who still thought I was in the dark. My mom was losing her mind, blaming everyone, lashing out, threatening lawsuits. She told Lisa she was being hunted.
She was partially right.
But what really pushed her over the edge was what happened next. Joel, the ex-husband, filed a lawsuit to reclaim assets from the divorce, using the proof I gave him. Claimed she hid accounts, lied under oath, and that she'd stolen from their shared retirement fund. Now she had to deal with federal investigators, a civil lawsuit, and her son pressing fraud charges, all at once. And still not one apology. Not one word. Just more screaming voicemails, now saying I'd betrayed her, that I was ungrateful, that I was just like my father.
No.
I wasn't. My father left. I stayed. For too long. And now I was finishing what he never could. The day the police knocked on her door, I was sitting in a diner in Fells Point, drinking black coffee and watching the harbor. It was a Monday, cold and gray, just like the day she threw me out. They arrested her for fraud, identity theft, and disability benefit abuse. Joel's lawsuit had uncovered even more fake bank accounts, undeclared cash, even falsified statements during the divorce. The OIG had enough to pursue federal charges. She never saw it coming. I didn't watch it happen.
I didn't need to.
Lisa texted me in all caps. What did you do to her? They took her away.
I didn't reply.
The case dragged on for a year. She made bail, but lost everything. The house was seized under forfeiture. Her accounts frozen. She tried to play the victim, went on social media to rant about being set up, claimed the government was targeting her. But by then, nobody bought it anymore. Even her friends started peeling away. People who once defended her now avoided her. Joel's lawsuit made headlines in local circles. Word got out about how she faked injuries for years while living in comfort. Neighbors whispered. Church groups distanced themselves. Her shame was public, and it was permanent. As for me, the fraud case cleared my name. Marvin pushed hard, and we got the forged mortgage invalidated. I walked away clean, but I didn't stop there. I filed a civil suit against her for emotional abuse and financial exploitation. Most people don't win those kinds of cases. But with all the documentation I had, recordings, statements, proof of how she used my income for years while controlling every aspect of my life, the court ruled in my favor. She owed me $68,000 in damages. She'll never pay it. She's broke now. But that wasn't the point.
She had always held power over me.
With guilt, with money, with lies. Now she had nothing. No house. No income. No support. And a permanent mark on her name. I ran into her once after everything. At a gas station outside Essex. She was in a rusted-out sedan, getting gas with change.
She saw me.
Her face twisted into something between hatred and fear.
She didn't speak.
Just got in the car and drove off. That was the last time I saw her. People always ask if I feel bad. If I miss her. If I regret what I did.
No.
I regret waiting so long to do it. She made me believe I was worthless. That I'd never be more than her shadow. But now she lives in the ruins she built, and I walk free. Some people don't believe in justice unless it comes from a courtroom. I believe in justice that comes when you take your life back and leave nothing behind.